Hi, this is Roger. Thanks for dropping by. This is a working video, so you won't see too much of me, and you won't see a lot of what I'm going to be doing anyway, or I'd have to keep moving the camera. But basically, I'm just going to go through the Cattleyas in the Holey clay pots, so not the mounted ones, just the others. There's no Cattleyas in ordinary pots. They're either in Holey clay pots or mounted. And in addition to that, that's not hippie soap, it's that. And the reason I'm using that is because it's 10 ml of that per litre of water. That's it. So my litre spray took 15 to 20 seconds to mix up, as opposed to the hippie soap, which takes ages because of all the component parts. Plus it then makes more than a litre, which won't fit in the sprayer. So that's the only reason I'm using that, and there will be some scale on these, and I thought, well, as I'm going to handle each one, they just will have a spray with something, so they're just getting that today. In addition to that, we have cutting implements, including the heavy duty stuff. The reason will become apparent. Part of this is also, some of these Cattleyas are going to get picked up and they're not going to get put back. We're thinning them out. So, they're all on one shelf, so it's quite easy to do. Now this is my apple blossom, and it's not in the best state. It's got a nice strong new growth coming out here, but and then another smaller, not so healthy looking growth coming out here. So it has got two growths on it, but it's not in the best state. But some of these older leaves are as a consequence of sunburn from some time ago, and I'm fed up with looking at them, so they're coming off. Hence the big stuff. So that's those, and these two are coming off as well. So that's those out of the way. That lets a little more light into the plant as well. Not quite sure why I tied that up like that, but I'm going to see what it looks like without being tied up like that. Probably flop all over the place now, wouldn't it? It's not actually. I don't know why I did that, it's too long ago. Right, so this is good enough to keep, but there is a problem. Those leaves I've just cut off here, that black there is not as it should be. And then here we've got black going down inside a leaf joint, which is not good. Now it could be that some moisture's been trapped in there. And then on the latest growth we have signs of scale, but they're not there. We like that, they're not there. Oh dear. Come on then, now there's a film for you. It's that accent, I love that accent. In what film was a very strange looking character opening a box and going, they're not here? That'll test you. And also, what were not there? One of my favourite actors actually, but rather obscure in that particular film. Right, so that's my apple blossom, that's getting kept. So I'm scanning this, desperately trying to find some scale. And the chances are there are some round the base of that plant. There appear to be none on the top or in the leaf joints where they normally get. So the hippie soap's done its job on that, but nonetheless we've got the flipping spray, let's use it. So all I'm doing is spraying down the base of the rhizomes and over the base. This is a soapy wash contact killer, so and works by suffocation, so it's only going to work, you know, if it touches them and soaks them. So just give the base of the plant a good soak. One done, and you're staying. Of course we need space now, don't we? I need some space to put things, so we can get a couple up there, and some can go on the floor. As I said, they're not all going back. Right, next. Now this is this strange one. Calcolalia, Cattleya, Chantilly Lace Twinkle. Now this was one that was apparently going to be really vigorous, and this is in a pot that's far too big. And it's also got old Orchiata bark in there, and it's coming out. So that's not going back, that's going in there. It's going in there because it's going to get put in a smaller pot and the bark changed. So that was easy. Next. Right, what have we got here then? This is the Shin Fong Little Sun Young Min Golden Boy. So it's actually got a normal size label, but look how tiny the writing has to be to get that lot on. Now, this one is in exactly the same boat as the last one. What have we got? We've got a new growth here and a new growth here. Neither of them look like they're going to get to full size, and they're certainly not going to get to full size now because their roots don't look good. The root system on this plant is failing. Yeah? The reason it's failing, it's in old Orchiata bark. So that's not going back either. You can go in there. Another one for the kitchen. Ruthless. Right, next. Next is Laelia anceps, and two new growths. It's got two leads. It has had two leads for a long time. Now this got repotted in some decent bark, so there's nothing wrong with the bark it's in. It even had some coconut husk mixed in with it. But as a consequence of disturbing its roots, the old pseudo-bulbs badly desiccated. So it had a problem. Now it has grown some new roots and it's still growing some. Yeah, so it's coming back. It has a spike on one new growth and not on the other. It aborted. That's due to the disturbance, no doubt. But it still has the two leads. So in theory we should still get two new growths next year. One of which is highly likely to be over the edge of the pot, tough. And the other one should be in the pot nicely. It's a unit, so you know, if some of the roots don't go in the media, it's not too bad. And a lot of these new ones over here have gone in the media anyway. Now this one hasn't got scale and it doesn't need anything cut off, so you're okay. It's never had scale, I don't think, that one. Now we're getting into more manky stuff. So I'm not keeping manky plants. And this is a Cattleya hybrid that has a stunning bloom on it, but the plant's going. It's failing miserably. It's got a lot of scale around the base, which I'll deal with. So what have we got then? We've got this part of the plant over here has a lead that has a little bit of rot in the sheath, which is the flower spike that's gone black, and it's discoloured the sheath. It's left a spot on it. But the growth doesn't look too bad. The growth looks okay. I hate it when I see a black sheath on a Cattleya. In my mind I think it's wet, it's rot. And it's not. A lot of it, I mean, this is dry, it's not wet at all, and it doesn't want to come off, it's really tight. So we have a new growth there, and then at the other end of the plant we have another new growth. I can't remember whether this was two pieces. I think it might have been. Yes, it was, I'm pretty sure. Because if you follow this new growth back, that's the previous one, that's still got a green leaf, and then behind it, it has 3 sawn off pseudo bulbs that are starting to go soft. So that section of the plant is rotting, and it needs to come off there, which will leave 2 bulbs. That's not a strong piece of plant, but that's what's going to have to happen, and I'm not sure I'm going to be able to do it simply because there's a wire over the top. I don't know what to do. Let's see if we can just take the pieces off. See how bad it is. Most of this scale that I'm looking at is actually bodies rather than any fresh stuff. bodies. Right. Getting a manky leaf, don't want that. I'm just tidying really, because I'm fed up with looking at you know, what is a messy plant. This leaf is virtually totally yellow now, so it serves no purpose. There's nothing wrong with the pseudobulb, only the leaf. I'm quite happy to just cut the leaf and leave the pseudobulb, because it's still attached, it's still a storage organ. So that's just made it look a little bit better. It does have 2 leads. They're not growing very well, but there is some root growth under this part of the plant, but there doesn't seem to be much under this part yet. So, right, quick spray around the base. As I said, I think most of the scale on this are bodies, not actual scale, just dead remains. Right, next. More manky ones. Right. Now this one is definitely 2 pieces. One piece has got that with no leaf and 2 pseudobulbs that are browning. And that one's starting to go soft. So this piece needs to come out, the whole piece. And so I'm going to try and bend the wire and see if I can, or I'm going to have to lever it. Just going to try and bend the wire away from it so that I can pull it out. I don't know whether I'm going to be able to do it. I don't want to completely remove the wire because it's holding the other piece. It's only this piece I want out. Let's see if we can cut it in pieces and ease it out. That piece should now come out. Yeah, see, there's nothing underneath it. Nothing at all. And the other side should just lift out as well now. Oh, that goes either side of the wire, so let's cut it in half. Take one piece out that side. No roots at all. Completely rotten. And again, completely rotten. And on top of that, media is incredibly wet. So basically, for the size of the root system, most of which is rotted, this pot's too big. It's not drying. So if we're going to save this piece of the plant, I think that needs to come out of that pot and go in a smaller one. While I've still got something to work with. And the fact that it hasn't got very good roots, by taking the yellowing leaves off, it's reducing, hopefully, the amount of work it has to do. So, back here, what about this wishy-washy green one, is that? No, it's not worth keeping either. See how much damage has been done to these as a consequence of messing the roots up, even though that was such a long time ago. See, now, if you look at this plant, these roots are soaking wet. They're absolutely soaking wet. So it's going to have to come out of the pot and go in a smaller pot with larger bark. And at this time of year, that's going to really set that back. But it's got to be done. So that's 3 for the kitchen. I'm not bothering to spray ones that are going in the kitchen. They'll get dealt with in a different way. I need to keep the labels. So that one we've just looked at was Young Min Orange, allegedly. So which was the Cattleyas? I saw I've got a label here that's, what was this one up here? That was the hybrid. Come on, don't get them in a muddle. It could be a long time till they bloom again. It's the one on the floor. Come on, concentrate. Right, next. No. No. So I should say no to that as well, shouldn't I? But it has got a lead, and this is one of my favourite Cattleyas. This is the angel heart that has the really nice blooms on. The roots are really poor, and it has one green leaf on one new growth, and the other two pseudobulbs are browning and are potentially soft. Yes, they are. So they've got to come off. Now, really I should take that rhizome right back to there and just leave that shoot, but it will have no support. So I'm going to risk it and leave it like that. It's going to have to come out. Effectively, it's in the old Orchiata bark. The pot is far too big, and I need to start this bit again. It might even go in a normal pot, a really small one. Just this bit, cut the rhizome right off. So we'll, I'm running out of places to put stuff. Whoops. The tripod's in the way, unfortunately, and I can't reach too far in there. I've got paperwork on the table, so I don't want to start putting damp pots on the paperwork. It's important stuff I've been working on. So I've just realised why these pots are wet. These got watered yesterday. Right, now this is my only red Cattleya. This is Siang Yu Red Pearl Red Dragon Fly. Yes, Red Dragon Fly. This does have some root activity, and it does have two new growths. It was in a bit of a bad way, so potentially this is sort of recovering. There is some scale around the base, but the pot is so wet. It'll dry. Just going to do a bit around the base, but not a soaking, just so that that's not going to get them all, but that will get some. Some's better than none. So you're okay. So I'm putting these back, but not in their proper place. There's 5 to go. So now what are we going to do with this? We're going to spray it because it's got scale on the new growth. That's not good. That pseudobulb and leaf are useless. So you can come off, leaving not much of a plant, but what's left is two green leaves on reasonably strong pseudobulbs and a new growth that's relatively recently started. Now that's all there is. Now this again is 2 plants. This one runs round here and this bit goes to there, but there's nothing left of that bit now. There's no pseudobulb that it rotted off. So that bit of rhizome is not really a plant anymore, but I'm not sure I can get it out. Oh, it's not hurting in there. It's not doing anything, but there's no point in it being there really. It could set off some rot, I suppose, but if I can wiggle it out. Yeah, get that out. And that's good really, because all of those dead roots at the bottom of that rhizome are directly underneath this new growth. So they would have been in the way of that new growth creating any nice roots, which it hasn't yet done. But that's put some air underneath it, so that potentially it now will. And you're not going to like what that is. That's my Laelia purpurata variety, Atropurpurea. And that suffered really badly from the lousy root treatment that was done, or scale treatment that was done a while ago. Right, next. I don't think we need to do anything to this one. This is the other Laelia purpurata. This is variety striata. Again, look how wet that bark is. That's old Orchiata bark. Now I know they were watered yesterday, but that should be drying. That's just too wet. I don't know what to do. I mean, I can't repot all of them all at once. And this one's not growing. It has, oh, actually it is. There's a new growth coming up there. But let's get that wet bark away from that for a start. So we do have a new growth on there, one. The 2 latest growths here are not going to bloom. So this isn't going to bloom on its current set. Now, remember what I've said about looking for scale? Look for a pale bit at the base of a leaf. And if ever I do anything like that, I kill them by squashing them in my fingers so that they don't migrate anywhere else. So I'm not going to touch that. That's just going to. I'd like to spray it. I can see some scale, but if I get that even wetter, it's just too wet. It's got some new roots. It is growing. It's sort of okay. Right, next one. This one's in new bark. This is in the new chunky bark, and it has a small, weak pseudo bulb that just will not drop the scale. So you can flipping come off. That constantly has scale on it. So if it's not there, it can't have, can it? We will give this one a spray. This one's been watered and already dried out. And it had a very strange looking sheath that almost looked like a leaf. And yesterday I cut it open and we have buds, and they are big. So I'm going to take this sheath down now, simply because it's damp in here, you know, time of year and everything, and I don't want those buds enclosed in a sheath that could be wet. So I'm just going to take that sheath off so that the buds have got air around them. They are quite large. There we go, now they can see the light of day. It's only a pair. This will be a first time bloomer as well, but you know, it's got two nice buds coming up there. And this is the RLC Taiwan Good Life Big Wilson, and that was one that I chose in the Schwerter order. So that's, you know, some of the ones in that order weren't ones that I chose myself. But we're going to see what the blooms look like anyway. So nothing to do on that one. That stays as it is. Giants of a leaf. Absolutely huge. Absolutely huge. Actually, I think I'll give the base of that a spray. I can see a couple of little white dots. It's not exactly, you know, there's not exactly infested. But, you know, I've always said, if you can see the little fluffy things, kill them. Don't give them a chance to become many. Keep them just a few. You didn't do so much damage then. Right, so that's that one. And then we've got the plant that has never looked good but has pretty flowers. So it sort of stays. Now this was repotted in the larger chunky bark. Set it back a bit. It produced this really twisted pseudo bulb. You can see the lines on it. It twisted and curled. And it's desiccated, and it's got a bent leaf at the top. Not exactly brilliant, this one, but it's one that after it blooms it rests. So this only gets a trickle of water at the moment, and then eventually a new growth will start from the base, and hopefully the next one will come up nice and straight. But that's never going to look a good plant, ever. You know, its oldest leaf is looking like that. These are distorted and desiccated. These are distorted and desiccated. It just doesn't grow well, basically. And these two leaves are coming off because they've got a massive scale underneath them. So they're coming off so that I can get at them. Again, it's the base of a leaf on a plant, piece of the plant that's not healthy. And that's the bit they go for. Now I can get at them. Right, that one's okay. They're okay. Right, so nothing else to do with that really. We'll give the base a bit of a spray. So I've got the spray now, I just want to use it. Just go around the base. It's enough getting done onto the rhizome that it should run down underneath the rhizome as well. So even though I can't see that happening, it's pretty logical that it is. Right, last one. And I think this one's okay for scale as well. Now this is in the old Orchiata bark, but it's in a small pot. So it'll do. It'll do. And it'll do until, I was going to say it'll do until such time as I can see a nice set of new roots coming. But guess what? That nice set of new roots is coming now. Single new growth, and there is a rotting pseudo, or an old, it's rock hard, but it's an old brown pseudo bulb at the back end of the plant that could do with coming off. So I think, should we take that into the kitchen, give it a new start in some fresh media? I think we will. But I've got no more space on that table, so I'll stick it on the floor. Ugh. Right, so that's the lot. Now everything's got to go back. And that was the Francis Fox, that one. That's one of my highest light requirement orchids in the Cattleya range, that one. Right, so that's got dark leaves, which basically implies it can take brighter light. It's not always true, and it is a bit of a generalisation, but that's going up near the glass. And it'll be coming back out again in the not too distant future when those buds open, so that we can see them. Let's get that over there. The labia needs to go near the glass. Do you know, that is so wet? Is there something... Ah, I think I've got a problem. I think the bubble wrap where's my hands? The bubble wrap is sunken in, like that. And I think there's condensation in there and it's dripping through. It's dripping off the bubble wrap. Because it's got there's so many plants between like the heater and the fan and that far corner, that bubble wrap's not getting any heat and it's not drying off. So up here it's all dry. Now that corner looks wet, and it looks quite wet. I mean, it could possibly even be leaking in from outside. I mean, this is a very poor construction. Well, I'm going to have to live with it for now. With any luck, I won't be here much longer. We shall see. Let's give you a choice. If you had two choices, at some point, all of my stuff in this house will be gone. So what's left is not mine, is it? Now, given the choice of wanting to sort through Mum's stuff to find out what might be worth keeping, you know, family members, knickknacks and things that they might like, what would be the best time to do it? Now, while all my stuff's here and I'm still living here, or after I've gone and all my stuff's left the premises? Which would you choose? Sometimes my sister is not the brightest. I'm just going to enjoy watching her struggle. You know, she wants to get up in the loft and take everything down. I said, and when you take it all down, where do you think you're going to put it? Why do you think it was put in the loft in the first place? It's because it's not wanted and there's nowhere else for it to go. So why would there be anything of any use up there? In addition to that, a lot of that stuff up in the roof is mine. And I don't want it brought down. Thank you. She just gets these things in her head, won't let it go. My other sister can't even persuade her otherwise, so I'm just backing off and I shall just sit back and watch her struggle, which she will have to do, because all my stuff's still here. And at some point it'll all be gone. The house will look quite empty with my stuff out of it. 2 of the beds will be gone. This lounge will be virtually empty. You know, the settee, the chair, all my furniture, which is nearly all the furniture in there is mine, will be gone. You know, so there'll be places to put things to sort them out. Oh, that's my phone. I'm going to have to get that. I'll be back. Oh dear. So it's stress levels. 2 phone calls, one after the other. One that set me off to answer. That was to talk to the guy who's going to come round and value all the contents, the goods and stuff like that. And arrange to clear the house out and chat with him. And then I'd had a load of letters earlier, some of which I need to tell my sister what was in them, because it's progress and all stuff like that. Hour and a quarter. A flipping cauliflower ear. And I'll have to charge the flipping phone up again because I left it switched on. It wasn't filming, but it was on. Anyway, so that's sort out. There's left 1 to go in the bin. Has left 5 to go into the kitchen. And everything else is back on the shelf, which isn't, it looks so bare now. And I need to, not now, I've had enough today. I need to investigate whether I am getting a little puddle up in that corner due to, it's not getting any air circulation over there because of the sheer volume of plants. I'm not sure what I can do about it even, but I need to look into whether stuff is dripping. See, I mean, it could just be that the fact that when the heater comes on, it actually warms up the bubble wrap, and the other side of the bubble wrap is freezing cold because it's right against the roof, and that's outdoor temperature sort of thing. But I don't, there's something seems a bit wrong up in that corner. Now, it looks okay today, it doesn't look soaking wet. But I remember when I took those Cattleyas off to water them, a couple of the pots were wet. And I thought, they haven't been watered for 6 days. Why are they wet? And then it dawned on me that perhaps they're getting dripped on. So, and that could be happening at night, you know, and I'm not seeing it. So we'll look into that tomorrow. So that man's coming round tomorrow to value up everything. And in these inheritance tax forms, there's a lot of like running totals that are built in. So you put a value in here, and it adds it to the total down here, you know, and then you fill in a schedule and it says now enter this value in that box on the other form, and that adds more to the running total. And there's a gap where this valuation's got to go, so half of the running totals aren't working because they've got a hole in the chain. So hopefully by tomorrow I'll have that last value and then everything can go in place. Getting there. My sister's got hassles with the funeral people because the person who's handling everything has tested positive for COVID and is isolating at home. Don't worry, I can deal with it all from home. Well, the order of service, you know, the little booklet that you hand out to people with the words to the hymns in and all that sort of stuff, we still haven't had a proof. Well, my sister saw the vicar on Monday and confirmed everything that was to go in there, yeah, and supplied a photo so that there'd be a photo of me mum on the front. And there's been no response. We've had nothing back, and it's nearly the end of Thursday. As far as business days are concerned, we've got Friday, Monday and Tuesday. That's all that's left. And that document needs proofreading. We need to say, yes, we're happy with that. So she's getting a bit flappy now. Which means she bites my head off. Water off a duck's back. I understand how stress levels can wind people up to such an extent that they're not themselves. And I'm sure I'm guilty of it sometimes. So we have to be tolerant and make allowances. But yeah, that time is getting tight. So, you'd laugh as well. Your personal thing, obviously, but my first wife phoned me up this morning because she wants to come to the funeral, and you know, the fact that it's like my mum and dad, my original dad, and you know, my mum obviously was married to him at that point. When I split up with my first wife, my parents looked up and said, well, just because you two are splitting up, we don't have to break friends with each, you know. So, you know, she's always stayed friends with my mum. And her best friend that's probably going to come as well, I've known since I was about 13 or 14. She used to cut my hair, and she's always done my mum's hair up until more recent. Well, up until when she retired and stopped doing the mobile hairdressing. So hopefully they're both going to come tomorrow. Sorry, Wednesday. That's before I've started. I poured this out on the grounds it's far too late in the day for a coffee, and because of all what I've been doing and filming and everything like that, I haven't had a drink since about 1 o'clock, and it's now whatever it is, 4:30. Tea time. Anyway, that's a sort out of the Cattleyas and a kitchen time. which for some people will be very enjoyable because everybody likes seeing me struggle getting a Cattleya out of a Holey clay pot without tearing all the roots off. So we'll have a game with that. That might not all get done in one video. But the fact that that old Orchiata bark is still wet, those plants are now in the house where it's a lot warmer and drier because I'd like them to dry off a bit. They're too wet. Obviously I was a bit slack, you know, on the grounds that I wasn't concentrating and I was chucking water through like it was the middle of summer when they don't need that much. And some of them could definitely do with going in smaller pots. And we do have some small Holey clay pots spare, so we should be okay. So we should be able to sort them out. But, you know, my Cattleyas are in a bad way compared with how they once were. Some aren't too bad, but, you know, a lot of them have suffered badly and I've lost some. As I said, there's one to go in the bin now, and I still haven't made up my mind on one of the others as well. That might follow it as well. We shall see. Anyway, thanks for dropping by, listening to the waffle again, and a fast look at the potted Cattleyas on the grounds that some of them needed to tidy up, and some of them needed repotting to get rid of this old Orchiata bark. That's where most of it is. Most of the ordinary pots have not got the old Orchiata bark in because most of those have been repotted more recently, and they'd have had the Burnham's bark with probably some charcoal and some cocoa husk. You know, they'd have had the new idea for the media. But there was a time when everything just went in the Orchiata bark. I didn't have charcoal and hadn't started using cocoa husk. And like I said, it was already 4 or 5 years old before it went in the pot. So it's just breaking down far too fast and holding water. That's the bad bit. So we'll have a go at those, and we'll see where we get to. As far as videos are concerned, I'm okay up to Sunday, and then Hannah's down from Monday, so there might be a 2 or 3 day, possibly even 4 day gap with just no videos. I've got stuff going on. Hopefully it's understandable. That'll just be how it is, so we'll see how we go. But, and I'll see you next time. But this video is ridiculously long now. Sorry about that. Bye for now.